So, there's a new Superman movie out. Have you watched it? You know I've watched it. Okay. So how did you feel about it? How did you feel about it? Okay. How about we both say how we felt about it in 3, 2, 1. I liked it. Okay, how about this? How about we start out positive? I'll say what I liked about it and you can come in and say what you didn't like about it. Whatever, this is a garbage movie. Okay, cool. The thing I liked most about this movie was that Gunn directly addressed a lot of concerns I had in my last Superman vs. the Elite video and my Invincible video. The events leading up to this left me so desensitized to the death and destruction like with Man of Steel. There was no weight to anything. The civilians were just fodder for artificial stakes. Here goes Invincible fighting another powerful Viltrumite inside the remnants of a city which clearly is still populated by civilians. I've complained about this before, but heroes punching villains senselessly through buildings might be cool when you're 8 years old, but it just feels irresponsible and unnecessary as an adult, which is the target audience for this show. If there is such weightless disregard for civilians, why should I care about anything I'm watching? What am I supposed to relate to here? It becomes hard to empathize or apply stakes to anything when the civilians are just ants on a playground. And when I made that video, I specifically pointed at Spider-Man because it's always so much more interesting to watch a hero not only defeat a monster or a villain, but also try their best to preserve lives and protect the surrounding infrastructure. For everything people say about Superman being boring, if he adopted the Spider-Man stance of trying to minimize collateral damage and protect people while fighting, that would make things way more interesting. I'm always peeved when Superman uses buildings and populated areas to smash villains' faces. I likened it to two grown men fighting in a room full of toddlers. If your first instinct is not to get the fight out of that room for the sake of the babies, you are just as irresponsible as the villain you're fighting. It adds a lot of complexity to the dilemma and it takes it leaps and bounds above a casual exercise in brute force. Like we all know Superman can throw a monster into the sun, but what happens when he values life so much that his focus is to try and have the best possible outcome for everyone involved? That part is not so easy and as a result, the stakes are raised and there's opportunity for really cool scenes like this one. Of all the Superman I can remember watching, I think this has the best spotlight of the Man of Steel being a responsible hero and not carelessly contributing to the villain's agenda of mass destruction and casualties. That brute force punching becomes visual noise and actual noise after a while, so this was by far my favorite aspect of the movie. There was not a single doubt in my mind that this guy cared about saving lives. Now my second favorite thing was the cast. I loved just about every actor and their performance in their roles, save for a couple here and there, but I will let Grumpy over there talk about those. I really liked David as both Clark and Superman with some minor reservations, and I think he looked the part and he sold the emotional weight of every scene flawlessly. And I'm speaking as a Henry Cavill fan, so I don't have a bias here. But David looked like Superman, he sounded like Superman, but I did feel like he was more of the Max Landis Superman than any other version I remember reading. And I also liked Lois a lot. I mean a lot. And I have to say, going by the video I made talking about the various iterations of Lois, it was really great to see someone out there knows how to write a beautiful, professional, competent, and aggressive Lois without making her selfish and unlikable. Her pushing back against Clark's naivety also felt like a direct response to some of the questions I was asking after watching Superman vs. the Elite.
I am calling an immediate worldwide ceasefire. All hostilities will stop, or I will stop them. It's over.
And we can even take this a step further than two countries at war and extend it to oppressive and corrupt governments whose citizens are powerless to fight back. I'm pretty sure if Superman existed today, people would hate him just because he has the power to liberate them, but he will not put himself above the laws of man.
My powers don't put me above the law.
So where does that leave us?
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for what some
it's
might...
a lot of fire.
It's a lot.
I stopped a war.
In effect, you illegally entered a country.
People were going to die!
I thought it was a very interesting coincidence that the movie was getting into some of these topics that I find intriguing, with a powerful man trying to do good things in a complicated world. But back to her, and Lois was an all-round success in casting, writing, and she was just a joy to watch, and a joy to watch. She is really high up my list of favorite Lois portrayals. I also surprisingly liked Guy Gardner, who I thought was just the right amount of douche to be entertaining. He wasn't mean-spirited and struck the perfect balance of self-centered but still charismatic. And I also liked Mr. Terrific a lot, and I thought he had the best action scene in the movie, which is saying a lot because this was a Superman movie. I understand why a lot of the early screenings pointed to him as a highlight. But I did, however, see some criticism thrown the way of the actor and how he played the role, which I will only share but not comment on because I'm not qualified to.
Listen, this ain't it, fam. And you can say I'm sensitive, by all means, I understand, but I see this as a level of disrespect. Because first off, you have a Kenyan man portraying a black American actor in a foolish freaking chuck and jive, hell yeah, I'm goddamn Mr. Fantastic.
What do you mean, you people?
And there's a litany of other goofiness of how he's portrayed in this film, where it's just a stereotype. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be represented like that on screen.
But Eddie's lineage is Kenyan like myself, so I'm just happy to see the brother shining. But a lot of stuff in this movie will have felt familiar, so I will mention that he did remind me of Yondu in that scene. Also, I very famously hate race swaps, but I thought Perry Black was great in this movie. He had a lot of effortless charisma and natural chemistry with the rest of the Daily Planet, and I think I enjoyed everything about the staff and their interactions. Perry thankfully was closer to Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury than Commissioner Gordon in the Batman Caped Crusader show. Let me just put it that way. There was at the very least a visible benefit from casting Wendell Pierce in the role. I still don't care for the concept, but it wasn't gonna keep me up at night. I also liked the cinematography in certain shots, and they had a couple of really iconic looking scenes. And I was also all in on the color grading, but I think that's where all the good stuff ends for me. Now I'll let Grumpy over here come in and bash the movie. I can see him shaking in the corner. Yeah, you can say what you want, but this movie was a mess. It actually didn't feel like a movie. It felt like 3 episodes of an animated series stitched together. The kaiju battle in the city was like the first episode, the Pocket Universe stuff was another episode, and the stuff with Ultraman and the Engineer was another episode. None of it felt cohesive, and a lot of it just felt so random. Tonally, the movie was all over the place. At the start of the movie, it was classified 16, but I would have a hard time believing that any teenager would be amused by some of the gags in this film. They felt like 6 to 8-year-old humor, which was then hugely contrasted by some really dark moments like the Russian roulette scene in the Pocket Dimension. Lex Luthor and that leader from that other country we will not name were not even in the same movie. I think someone forgot to cue them in because zero charisma Lex Luthor was a character in a horror movie who gets satisfyingly ended by the Predator in the opening scenes, while the other guy was something out of the Looney Tunes. Lex was by far the worst written character in the movie, which sucks because he was the one driving the plot. If we break down all his motivations, his plans were just as convoluted as Jesse Eisenberg's plans in Zack Snyder's BVS. The whole first 20 or so minutes of the movie were completely unnecessary, but they were only included to service Gunn's personal feelings about cancel culture. And that goes for Crypto as well. He did not need to be there at all. He was wholly irrelevant to this movie. All he did was get in everyone's way, and the one thing he did right could easily have been written around him. Another useless Nepo insert from Gunn. And how about we throw Guy Gardner and the Justice Gang in there as well? James Gunn's comfort zone is writing assholes in ensemble movies, so he just had to add all these superfluous characters.
These assholes aren't human.
What a bunch of a-holes.
I mean, he's not harmless. He's killed 27 children, but, you know.
And his take on Supergirl was such a typical James Gunnism that made me roll my eyes all the way out of the building. All these other characters were just a distraction to allow James Gunn to play to his strengths of writing groups of annoying characters. He should just come out and admit it. He didn't feel comfortable writing a Superman movie without the opportunity to insert all these douchey characters and their juvenile humor. But back to the person who Gunn needed all these distractions from writing. Superman was in the back seat of Lex's car being driven through the entire movie. At no point did I ever feel like Superman had any authority or control of any situation. He started the movie on the back foot, and that is where he stayed until the end. Nobody seemed to respect him or even fear him, and for all the talk of him being the most powerful metahuman in this universe, it certainly did not feel that way.
He should call himself Ass Kick instead.
He was cut from the same cloth as Invincible, where he would get beat down and dragged around every chance the movie had. The movie starts where he has been beaten senseless. He gets his powers back up, returns to the fight, and gets beaten senseless again. Gunn wanted to humanize him so badly, and I appreciate that he was a nice guy, but he took it way too far. He wasn't Superman anymore, he was like just a guy. He was just a dude. It says a lot when your favorite fight in a Superman movie has no Superman in it. And speaking as a writer, writing obstacles for an all-powerful hero should be fun, but none of his personal obstacles while he was fighting Ultraman or the Engineer were fun to watch. His resolutions in most of those situations just fell completely flat, and they were incredibly unsatisfying. And also, dropping in on a universe in progress can be done right, but with what we saw in this movie, it can also go horribly wrong. I do not think this movie got the approach anywhere even close to right. Young Justice was a great example of how to jump in on an established universe and acclimatize the audience to what the world is and who the players are. We had so many random events and creatures that just popped up on screen, and the problem with that is the universe never felt grounded. The rules were never made clear, and there were so many unanswered questions. And not the fun kind where you could postulate what it all means. They just felt random. Like at any point they probably thought, oh, that's cool, throw that in. Oh, that would make a fun visual, put that in. Yeah, let's have a weird alien looking creature in a pocket dimension working for Lex Luthor. And that pocket dimension needs a whole video of its own because that whole plot was a mess that never got resolved. And on the casting front that this optimist spoke about so favorably, at no point did I ever, let me repeat, at no point ever did I even slightly consider believing that Jonathan and Martha Kent knew Clark, let alone raised him. There was nothing authentic about their interactions that made me think that they had a pre-existing relationship. Clark should have at least had a similar accent for starters, even if he went to Metropolis and started losing it. But even beyond that, there was no chemistry between them at all. These were not people who interacted in the same social class ever, unless Clark went to some fancy private school when he was in Kansas. But even still, I just did not buy into any of their interactions. You can go for authentic rural farmer all you want, but at least make it believable. These were complete strangers who even made Zack Snyder's tornado scene seem more plausible than this supposed relationship. And speaking of parents, I did not like this take on Jor-El and Lara at all. And it creates an even more complicated conversation about immigration if James Gunn's goal was to make a pro-immigration movie. Like, those are the parents who are sending kids to America? That is the goal that immigrants want their children to achieve in America? A harem?
They're not sending their best.
And another thing that really irked me was the shifting opinions of the entire social media aspect of the movie. And first of all, can Hollywood just retire this social media thing being the linchpin of your movie? You don't have to chase TikTok trends, you are cinema. But anyway, everyone was so fickle in a way that you'd only see in, say, a Powerpuff Girls cartoon. There is no world where public opinion unanimously flips back and forth based on rumors. And you put such a dumb plot point in a movie that is tackling the complexities of international conflict. In what reality are people in awe of you one moment and completely turn on you minutes later without making excuses for you or trying to justify the new information to try and preserve their feelings towards you? The public just bought into everything instantly like a storybook for children. I heard someone when we were walking out of the movie saying, I guess this one was not really for us, it was probably for the kids. But you know what, I'm actually done wasting time on this. You can close out the video. This is a waste of my time. I have better things to do than trying to make sense of nonsense. I have no idea who that person is. I've never seen him before in my life, and I have nothing to do with anything he has said. I promise he will not be allowed in here again. And I hope I will see you in the next one. Peace. Anytime anything disparaging comes out about this guy, everyone universally just flips and, oh, he's evil now. Oh, he's good now. Oh, that guy was evil all along. Like, what? And when the movie was over, you should have seen how quiet the theater was, and everyone walked out like they'd just left a funeral. He has monkeys trolling online. Monkeys.